We are live, talking movies beforehand, before talking
Yeah.
comic.
hmm
And I don't know if Wilson's going to make it on tonight or not, since he hadn't responded at all since yesterday. So I don't know what he's up to. We'll
hmm
have to see. Usually, one of you. If, I always on Thursdays say who's around for a show on Friday,
hmm
and who's ever around for a show on Friday will usually respond, or else sometimes Paolo doesn't respond. That usually means he's showing up. Usually people will respond if they can't show up.
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
understand, but no
Yeah.
response from Wilson.
Usually, usually when I know I can't come, I'll show up.
Yeah, right.
Just so you have the time to invite Chris Girusso.
Didn't hear from him either.
Well, Chris, Chris is like that special guest star that you're not expecting.
Yeah, when he has the chance, he shows up.
Like Q in
Mhm.
Star Trek.
Whoops, one right here. What time is it, kids?
It's
It's time for
clobbering
a show.
time.
Don't worry, guys. I have arrived. Oh, it's good to see Comic Track has arrived.
Mhm.
Arrived and are ready to go. I had to order a new piece today for my computer. I have a Wacom Cintiq, which is I just loaded. I got it in 2008. It's not new.
Hmm.
And it's like a 12-inch one. It's the one that's a graphics tablet, but it's also a screen that hooks up to your computer. Well, today the screen started acting like, you ever see a screen in the movie or televisions that starts going and starts going gzz, 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 blinking on and off? That's what mine did. Which, of course, you never know what it means. You're like, oh, is the tablet bad? Is one of the wires bad? Who knows? Luckily, I still have my old tower. And this is a VGA to USB-C adapter, because old computer monitors were VGA.
Yes, I remember.
So luckily, I still have my old 2008 computer up and running that's VGA, so I could hook it up to that, and it worked fine. Because I hooked it up to my laptop, it didn't work. I hooked it up to my, both of those are USB-C. They didn't work. So I'm like, all right, at least I know it's the $10 part. That's good.
The last time I had a desktop computer at home, I needed an adapter because the mouse was USB, and that thing only had two USB ports,
Oh
and I was
yeah.
not going to waste one with the mouse. So so I had an adapter USB to mouse port.
I've got two
But
USB ports on my desktop with 10 USB plugs each. So I got a lot of stuff hooked up. Good evening, flamingos. Mine and I'll show this to Gus. I did end up this week. I got Habibi by Craig Thompson,
man, that thing's big.
and gotta show you this. I got it off eBay, and it was somebody's Secret Santa gift. It says, Hey Brooksley, Secret Santa person, LOL. Craig Thompson is a local, a friend of a friend. And yes, that really is his funny little signature in there. I loved this. Hope you love it too. Much love, Ben, I think that says. Obviously, the other person didn't love it as much because they sold it to a bookstore who sold it on eBay. And there's a little heart Craig there, which must be his signature. But I found, and there's even, besides the Secret Santa note, there's what appears to be a child's drawing.
Yeah. There. Yeah, I think the person who sold that, it was a comic book. It was probably more like, ooh, a book.
A book? Why do
What
I
am I
want
gonna do?
that?
Yeah, what am I gonna do? Read it?
So I'm gonna get some of my photo corners and mount these in the book to keep it with, so they don't fall out. But yeah, I look forward to reading this. I'm not sure what it's about. It comes with I always does it say that? I always think of it gives a what is it? Sprawling across an epic landscape of deserts, harems, and modern industrial clutter, Habibi tells the tale of Dodola and Zam, refugee child slaves, bound to each other by chance, by circumstance, and by the love that grows between them. At once contemporary and timeless, Habibi gives us the story of an astounding resonance, a parable about our relationship to the natural world, the cultural divide between the first and third worlds, the common heritage of Christianity and Islam, and most potently, the magic of storytelling. That's the first time I've read what Habibi is about, but that's on our. And I always think of Seth, the cartoonist in Palookaville, when I see these, because he has written on his like the book designer wishes you throw this away after purchase. He doesn't want it marring his nice book design, but I use them as bookmarks. I just stick them in the back and use them as bookmarks. But that's what Habibi is about, I guess. Like I said, and Mine the Comics swears by it, so I look forward to reading it. And since I loved ginseng roots so much, though I have to say it brings up the subject once again of buying the other issues of ginseng roots, because as I've said on here before, I like buying comic books and reading them as periodicals. And if I had done that with ginseng roots all along, I'd be perfectly fine with it. But having only discovered it with issue 10 and buying issues 10, 11, and 12, it would cost me like $60 to go back and buy the issues. And it's kind of, let's see, what was the original price tag on this? The original price tag on this big giant book was $35. So it's kind of like it comes back to my you're either the sucker who buys the individual issues or the asshole who waits for the collected edition that's subsidized by all the suckers. Those are your two choices. And I got how much I paid for this? $12.15 shipped. So it's like I spent $6, $6, and $9 on those 3 individual issues. So it's like it's just crazy that that I'm even thinking I should go back and buy the individual, which I'm not going to do because, like I said, it'll cost me like $60. So it's just kind of like I'll just wait the year or two until the whole thing comes out. Because it's just nuts to think that's like the business model. The people who buy the individual issues are the suckers. Me, I like the individual issues, so it's like
Yeah, but in this case, you should feel entitled. You've been buying comics for too long a time, and
yeah,
now it's time for other people to pay for your
right.
comic.
I don't feel guilty buying. I don't even know if this came out in individual issues. And I don't feel guilty when I'm the asshole at all, because I'm usually the sucker. So, but like it, and if I had bought ginseng roots over time, spent the same amount of money, the $60, whatever it was, I'd be okay with it. I wouldn't be, sure, I'd have some pangs of anger when I saw somebody on YouTube going, I pulled these all out of the dollar bin. Oh, look at this whole series I got, which I haven't seen many dollar bin shoppers in a while. But that has happened over the years where some random series that, of course, I bought new. They're like, oh, I found these all in the dollar bin. So I paid $12 for this whole Terry Moore series. And I'm like, let's see. One of my favorite graphic novels for sure, Luxurious Art. I'm pretty sure it was never published in issues. And it's a little dinged up on the corners too down here. So the guy really didn't like it. The guy who got it is a Secret Santa. He may have dropped it once. Who knows?
Oh, I dropped the book. Who cares?
Yeah. Finishing fish and chips. Pal, I wonder if Newfoundland fish and chips are like Portuguese fish and chips. Battered cod with beef gravy and fries. Jared, can you get British fish and chips in New York? My friend Bunch does. I do not like any kind of seafood, so I don't really know. But
We don't have fish and chips in Portugal. That's not what we do with cod.
uh-huh.
Although we can have, we do have ways of frying cod. If you look for something called patanisca, you try to find a recipe. It's it is a fried cod with an egg batter. Although it does have more egg, and then you serve it with rice and beans.
Yeah, I don't know of any, but I'm absolutely sure that somewhere in Manhattan is a British pub that serves British fish and chips made by British expats.
Yeah. I once tried to Google the Portuguese restaurants in New York City. There weren't that many. I think there were 2 at the time, and one of them was pretty expensive. And that's not the point. The whole point of Portuguese food is to not be expensive.
All food is expensive in Manhattan.
And it can be marketed as exotic cuisine.
Yeah.
Even though
sure
it's
there's
not.
every just about every food style is represented somewhere in New York City. Because that's the way it goes. But yeah, I look forward to it. It was funny. I was kind of like, do I want to read this on my commute, on my train ride? It's a little heavy to carry with me.
Yeah, isn't it?
But yeah, it looks real nice.
Although that is the type of book that I would not complain it's not available as a trade paperback, because it's clear that the design is part of the experience of reading it.
Yeah. It really is very, very nice. It looks like some old holy book. Does it have any kind of no bookmark in it? Sometimes they have that book ribbon, I should say. Sometimes those books have a book ribbon in them. But not this one. The Kickstarter will be, once they hit a certain point, they'll put a book ribbon in with the Kickstarter. Hey, this doesn't want to go back in my, there we go. Back in my little holder.
Have you seen people from America confirming that they're going to be, and there's a bunch of them, that they're going to be at the Lake Como Comic Art Festival in May next year, and that's in Italy.
Oh, that reminds me. We saw you interviewing the Gatsby artist.
Jorge Coelho.
On your channel over there, a little quick 3 or 4 minute interview. That was kind of cool. I enjoyed seeing that. How was the show?
It was kind of crowded on the first day. There were I didn't manage to go to any of the talks. We had Mauricio de Souza over because it's the 60th anniversary of Monica's Gang, which is the preeminent Brazilian comic. It's also very famous in Portugal. I know there were attempts at translating that thing into English, but it just would not catch on. It's like Peanuts. It's like doing Peanuts as a Dell comic, but that Americans wouldn't enjoy. but it's funny. It's well, yeah, you can't search my channel, because if you search my name, you get the the the
Paulo
wrestling guy.
Costa Comics. I guess that's what
Yeah,
you're searching.
better. Otherwise, the Brazilian wrestler guy shows up.
Or you can search for him on my subscribe. I think you can go to look at who I subscribe to, and you can find him there. Some water. I didn't bring my water.
I'm gonna go back to back there tomorrow. That thing goes over 2 weekends.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna go talk because my local comic shop owner is also a publisher, and he's is reissuing his first big graphic novel. The first big graphic novel he published. He's reissuing it. It came out as a 2-volume set, and now it's coming as a integral. It has a 16-page epilogue, completely recolored.
Oh,
It's going to
wow.
have the writer and the artist are going to be there, and since I love the artist, I'm going to see if I can get them to speak in English, do something like I did with Jorge Coelho, because the republishing includes an edition in English, and I want to see if people are interested in that, because I definitely recommend it. I mean, when I do that, I'm even going to put the link to the store where you can buy the English language edition, because I need to get that artist in the international market.
What book does he do? What's the name of it?
Okay, this one is it's the happiness formula. It's something that they did 10 years ago. Oswald, the artist, has been doing a lot of other stuff. The writer's mostly a TV writer who's into comics, but he doesn't have time to write that many comics. But Oswald has been publishing stuff left and right. There's hardly any year that he doesn't have a book out. There are years when he has 2 books out. He's pretty fast. Yeah, but he's really good. He can change his style completely from one book to the next if it's a totally different theme.
You know what I was watching today? I've yet to see a good one. There was some Image Comics book that's coming out. I can't even remember the name of it. I remember Rick Remender has something to do with it. And they had a trailer. And it's like every comic book trailer is exactly the same. It's like, let's take a page of the art and scan across it and zoom in and play a little, and it tells you nothing of what the comic's about. It doesn't attempt to tell any kind of story. And I'm just like, I watched about, 20 seconds of the trailer before I bailed. I'm like, this trailer made me not want to buy the comic. Like, I don't know what it is about people who make trailers for comic books, but it's like they don't know how to make them the least bit interesting. It's like you've got all the storytelling skills in the world when it comes to comics. How come you don't use any of them in your trailer? Rito Alfiate needs to go international, top talent.
She's not as prolific as she should be. There was a series that she had published, but they're from an even smaller publisher. I think she's got a style that you'd like, and I'm sure Comic Crack would like. Yeah, Russell would like it, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, if we don't get these things translated, we there's a couple of guys here that said, "Man, you got to get your stuff translated." Oh man, that's too much work. I have to pay, have to pay somebody to do it, and I don't have money. Then I have to go into conventions, and I don't like it.
What did I see at the store? I didn't get it, but at the store this week, I noticed there was, I think James Sturm had something to do with it. an adaptation of Watership Down. Do you know that book or or animated special?
Mhm.
It was when did it come out? In the 80s? It was a pretty big animated movie. They showed it in like schools around us too. It was called Watership Down, and it's about the life in of rabbits. And they get into these bloody battles too. It's like a violent story about the everyday life of a warren of rabbits. Famous, I guess it's a children's book, but it's like a violent children. It's not a it's not a children's book for kiddies. And like I said, they made a animated feature of it. So I think sometimes in the 80s, which is pretty popular too. And I was like, oh, look at that, a graphic novel of it. It was $35 at my local shop. And I was like, I don't have $35 this week. Maybe some other time. But I was like, oh, cool. Sorry, half paying attention. What would I like?
Rita Alfayet, the name that Gus has in there. If you search for her name, you'll find her comic. It's called Tangerine. Yeah, I think you'd like it. I think you could read it with Lily.
Ah, okay. Portuguese talent.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not available in English.
So maybe you can't read it with your daughter. You can look at the pictures of it.
No, you can show up at Johnny Costa's house and have him translate for you. Okay.
Just looking her up looks great. There you go. Nothing like a good recommendation.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got a lot of hidden talents, but not everyone's looking specifically to break into the U.S. market.
Yeah.
So
if you're making money elsewhere,
people aren't making money from comics. They have regular jobs.
Okay.
Like
mostly over here too.
Yeah. No, but here it's like you do those things when you have time, and so if you trying to build up a portfolio and sending stuff to editors across the sea, and
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Road trip to Ontario for bedtime story. And Google Rita Alfete Neon.
Yeah, Neon's going to be a bit too busy. But it does look good. I haven't bought it, but it does look good. I think she's being published by her publisher is something real. It's a husband and wife team who do comics on the side of whatever they do on the side. They do have they're the ones who take their books everywhere because they're not available in bookstores.
Comic Crack says, "Oh wow, Neon looks great as well."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so here I am doing my best to showcase Portuguese comics, and then, do you like it? Yeah, do you like it? Well, you can't trade it because it's not available in English.
Yeah, use Google Translate. And for the first time ever, I bought a Zenoscope comic.
Ooh.
With this Adam Hughes-ish cover, which is actually by someone named Jeff Spokes. Let me show you it. Really working in the Adam Hughes style. I bet that must be him on the back too, since I don't see an ah. But this is the Wonderland Annual Out of Time. And I don't know if I don't know if you've ever seen any Zenoscope comics, because I've never showed any, so I don't know why you'd see them. But they have a whole bunch of stuff, usually with sexy women covers, that are like based on fairy tale. They've got a long-running one called Grimm's Fairy Tale.
Yeah, I read something they put out many years ago called Zoot Suit.
Okay.
It's a kid who finds some sort of space alien armor that allows him to turn into Super Extreme Ultimate Iron Man.
Huh. Friar Tuck says my daughter still regrets watching Watership Down when she was 4. She's 21 now. Yeah, Watership Down is like you think it's going to be this cute cartoon about rabbits, and it's this violent drama about rabbits. They actually get into bloody fights with one another. His daughter was not the only child to be traumatized by Watership Down.
Yeah, I
I
remember
heard.
watching I had no problem watching a war movie when I was 6, but if I
Mhm.
watched and I did end up watching a couple of cartoon movies, Ralph Bakshi style stuff, that were actually pretty violent. And whoa, not here, okay? In the
Yeah,
war
great.
movie, yes, not here.
Watership Down is intense. I have the Blu-ray, but haven't subjected my daughter to it yet. Well, there's a new comic book adaptation of Watership Down that came out this week. I didn't get it, but it's James Sturm, Sturm, and someone else. James Sturm, who did Golem's Mighty Swing, and he did another one that's my favorite. That's about a rug maker in medieval Europe. I can't remember its name right now, but I'll have to tell you because it's one of my favorite. It's the whole thing's a metaphor for working in comics, and it's not a pretty metaphor. But this was pretty good. I got to say, I enjoyed this. I It's less cheesecakey than I thought it would be. It really was because I like all the Zenoscopes have these cheesecakey covers. They're pretty women covers. And most of like I think they do one on Robin Hood. I think like Robin with a Y, and it's a woman archer, and they've like all their stars are from women from fairy tales. And this one's no, I think it's got like I think this is like evil Snow White or someone. But this one is actually a series of tales. What is it? 64 pages of content. Who does it? It's first of all, it says Grim Universe created by Joe Brusha and Ralph Tedesco. I guess they're the ones behind it. And this story is by Dave Franchini, David Wall, and Raven Gregory. David Wall was an editor at Marvel in the early 90s when I first started. And the writer is, again, Raven Gregory. The artwork is by Oliver Borges, 1 to 18. Massimiliano Lamano, 19 to 39. Giulia Pellegrini, a bunch of pages. And Alan Otero, a bunch of pages. Robbie Bevard on colors and Taylor Esposito on the letters. So and David Wall is one of the editors too. So I think he left Marvel originally to work at who's the Witchblade
Top Cow.
Top Cow. I think he was like the Top Cow editor for a lot of years in the
Hmm.
90s.
Yeah, I don't know when he left. Probably when ADOS bought them.
Yeah, and he also wrote a bunch of Top Cow stuff.
Yeah, he did. He didn't. He ended up writing Witchblade, but he went. I think he ended up writing The Darkness as well. Because after Christina Z left Witchblade, he kept on writing it himself.
I think Christina Z was his wife or girlfriend at one time. I don't remember.
Probably, I guess she was a journalist.
Yeah.
Some kind of at some of those weird artsy magazines, I think.
But it was a good story. It was a time travel story about I think Snow White, the evil Snow White.
Mhm.
There was Snow White, there was her daughter and Snow White's granddaughter. And I think Snow White's supposed to be older. The mother's, in her 30s, and the granddaughter's in her 20s. I must be in her 20s, early, maybe teens, early 20s or something. And they're going through time, having to stop these things from happening, kind of. But it was pretty well. I enjoyed it, I have to say. I bought it just because I was like, I was actually looking at a facsimile edition came out from DC this week. I can't remember the name. I think it was one of the Green Lantern, it's like Golden Age Green Lantern. What book did he appear in? Something Adventures.
He appeared in All American Comics
Yeah, it
before
may have been
before
All
he got his own
American
title.
Comics. There was like an issue of that, but it was like another $8 facsimile edition. And I was
Well, it
just
is
like,
64 pages.
what was that?
64 pages.
Yeah, it's 64. But you know what? I really don't want to pay $8 too often for facsimile editions. I mean, they're nice enough, but it's just kind of like, so I said, you know what? I'll spend, this was $8. Like, I'd rather get this for $8. And the choice between a facsimile edition or like especially of Golden Age DC Comics, I really don't have that much interest in Golden Age DC Comics. So I was like, you know what? I'll spend $8 on this week, and that'll be. But it was cool. It was well done. I gotta say, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because sometimes I take a chance on some of these things, and it's just like they don't pan out. As often they probably don't pan out more often than I like them. So, and I'm not quite sure what Hot Flips comic book art supplies are, but I guess they're a company who sells comic book art supplies. Hotflips.com. Put Zenoscope in the comments and get 10% off. Oh, bags, boards, boxes, and top loaders. All right. But not a bad comic. I got no real complaints about it. I could, never having read any Zenoscope before, I could follow it easily enough. Wasn't, even though it's clearly in the middle of something, at least in the middle of these characters' lives. But there was no problem following it. So that was my, $8 take a chance purchase this week that worked out. Now I'll put it in my bought for its covers section. Did you get to read any comics this week?
No, I bought a few last week at the festival, but I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't read them yet. I'm gonna buy a couple more tomorrow and see, and then I'll do a whole video.
Do you have any idea what you're gonna buy tomorrow? Any plans for something to buy? Or you're just gonna play it by ear, see what's there?
Yes, I think I'm not gonna buy the Portuguese edition of Gatsby yet, but I should get Noir Burlesque because I haven't bought it yet. Let's see if I can. What else I can buy?
Gonna get your Gatsby signed?
No, I'm not gonna buy Gatsby yet. I'm gonna wait another year because it might be 10% off next year. Yeah, I'm seeing books that I bought when they came out, and now they're going for 20-30% off. And man, I should have waited.
Hey, you're talking to the person who bought the $84 version of Gatsby. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about getting the hardcover of that is at Amazon for $22. So, like someday maybe I'll get a $20 version.
Yeah, but remember when I showed the French adaptation of Dracula by Georges Best? Well, I've bought the Frankenstein book, so I'll be showing that.
Ah, okay.
I also bought a Macbeth graphic novel that retells the story from Lady Macbeth's perspective.
Yep, an $8 facsimile edition. I'd rather get new stuff for $8. A Paulo Costa video. I'm looking forward to it.
We already have one
this weekend as well. Going on.
Go to my channel. Go to my channel and go watch my interview with George Coelho. 2.5 minutes short. Well, he talks a little bit about the Gatsby process.
Tells us a little bit about his process.
Mm-hmm. But there will be more. And
I was just looking up some a con that's in New Jersey, because I'm near northern New Jersey. I'm not near southern New Jersey. But But Bob Budiansky's feed came up on my Facebook. He's going to be appearing at the Super Jersey Comic Expo this weekend. I went to look up where in Jersey it was, and their website didn't have a link to a map. It's like every con you go to their website has a link to how to get there.
Yeah.
I had to like find where the address was somewhere in the ad. They didn't and copy it and paste it into maps to find out where it was. I'm just like, how do you not have it prominently displayed on your home screen where this thing is? Why do I have to dig for the location? I'm just like,
Yeah, let's find out where this is. Homedale, New Jersey. Okay.
But it was a little far south for me. It was in central Jersey near the shore. Whoops. Dropping my magnet.
That's already redneck country, right?
I'm not 100% sure. It might be Jersey Shore country.
All right. So I see Lakewood. I see Shrewsbury.
SuperJerseyExpo.com.
Yeah, it's on the southeast from New Brunswick and East Brunswick.
Yeah.
Doesn't look too big.
Yeah, I don't think it's big. It's a small one. Mm-hmm. Free admission, so it's not that big.
Okay.
A few comic book guests. Larry Hahn will be there.
Looks like it's in the middle of a national park.
Off Interstate 6, left off Spatula City.
Okay. What the Homedale Township, New Jersey. What does Wikipedia tell us? Population 17,400.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Here
it
we
known
are,
for?
Looking up random New Jersey towns.
Exactly. The earliest work on radio astronomy was conducted by Bell Labs engineer Carl Gute-Yansky in 1931 in Homedale. In 1964, Arno Penzias and Robert Woodrow Wilson of Bell Labs discovered evidence for cosmic microwave background radiation while performing research with the Homedale horn antenna, earning them the Nobel Prize in Physics. Okay, so yeah, Homedale, New Jersey. Home city of Nobel Prize winners. Okay. In 1977, Bruce Springsteen wrote and recorded many of his songs from his album Darkness on the Edge of Town in an old farmhouse on Homedale.
Look at that. It's got lots of claims to fame.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Not me, that's for sure.
Well, you do live near enough New York to think that the whole world is New York.
Yeah. It's got a lot of gravity, that's big city. That is for sure. And let's see, another comic I got this week, so you didn't have to, was Wild Pigs, Pork Inbred Gut Snacks.
Okay.
Another issue of Cerebus in Hell, parodying Wildcats. Mm-hmm. And this is...
And what insanity does Dave Sim hold for us?
Number 665 of 1165. So there's only 1,165 fans of this issue. If he sold that many. I'm always telling you, Cerebus is hit or miss. 2 issues ago, I really liked it. Last issue was unreadable. This issue was actually half and half. The first, third of the book, where are they? Was jokes about wild boar. And Satan here sitting around telling you the problems that Canada and parts of the US have with wild boar and wild pigs.
So is that an NRA advert in disguise?
No, not quite. He
Should have
said
been.
that.
Missed out on an opportunity there.
Let me see if I can find one. Of course, wild boar meat is also flavorful and lean, and the animals are low maintenance and resilient livestock. A tough pig that practically raises itself. I saw a sow birthing alone in minus 34-degree weather without losing a single piglet. Silent panel. You want instant street cred in Saskatoon? That'll do her. So there's like Canada jokes going on.
Yeah. Dave Sim actually wrote something funny.
Like I said, there's here's a wild boar page. Piglets, rut. Suey. Then as soon as we get off the insanity of the wild boar, we're into.
Ooh, you have to read that in David Attenborough's voice.
No. We're into Jiminy Hoffa cricket.
Okay, that's a stretch for a joke.
That's a way big stretch for a joke.
Yeah.
And there's no joke. It's about, he starts talking about how the environment would be better off if we raised crickets for food.
What does that have to do with what? Let's go back to the wild boars.
There's Wilson. Good evening. I'm talking about the latest Cerebus in Hell.
Wonderful. I don't know how my connection is going to be, so it might be too unstable. So I can't promise how long I'll be here.
Cerebus in Hell, Wild Pigs, started out, the first half of the book or so was made up of jokes about wild boar and how they got released and are a pest in the United States and Canada. But at least there were jokes.
Right.
Then halfway through, it turns into jokes about Jiminy Cricket Hoffa. I use the term jokes loosely. And we get Jiminy Cricket Hoffa. So I think he's making fun of environmentalists for not raising crickets, because if they were real environmentalists, they'd raise crickets. I think that's what he's trying to say. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
And then it turns to I don't even know what the thing I find craziest about then he just starts talking about, sort of conservative talking points about word use and how we call this, and we used to call it this, and we call this, that, and we now call it this. Like, that's how language works.
Right.
That's why we can't
Always
understand.
evolving.
That's why we can't understand Old English or Middle English or lots of the Englishes in between, even though it's the same language, because language changes over time. But
remember when literally actually meant literally?
Yeah, now it means figuratively. Crazy. But the weirdest thing about this book always, like the first wild boar part, as weird as it was actually some funny stuff. Then it gets Dave Sim became sort of a religious nut. But then he uses Satan as the voice of reason, kind of, and the voice of reason is always sort of the religious nut conservative point of view. And I'm like, really? You want Satan to be your friend? Does that make any sense? Shouldn't Satan be the liberal point of view you want to make fun of? But no, Satan's the conservative view. And I'm like, no, what? It makes no sense.
The book that always keeps you on your toes.
It does. It does. Like I said, two issues ago, it was really funny. Last issue, unreadable. This issue, half funny, half unreadable. I have 3 comic book stores in walking distance. For the Comic Cons, this city kind of blows. Costs too much to get here. Nothing cool ever happened at Saskatoon. There's no such thing as street cred there. He made some Canada Saskatoon jokes. One of the most used sports head caps is from the Codfish Academy, Newfoundland. Happy weekend before daylight savings time. That's right. Next weekend is daylight savings time after Halloween.
We have daylight savings time this weekend.
The U.S.
I
moved
thought
it, I
we
think,
put an
back a
end to
week
it.
because of Halloween. What was that, Wilson?
I thought it was voted out. Like we're done with
Oh
it.
no, it'll take an act of Congress to vote it out.
I thought we had that.
No, I don't think we did. No,
it was voted to start in 2024 because you can't just change it during the year.
You can.
You can, but it's not practical.
Right.
That Dave Sim issue is so crazy. I'm going to try and order that issue. Yeah, get your Canada jokes. And it looks like next issue is Cerebus. Oh, and I think that's a joke at Cerebus right there. 380. He's doing legacy numbering for that issue of Cerebus in Hell.
That a Spawn issue?
Record-breaking issue 380 of Cerebus and of Spore Batvark. That's kind of amusing. So what are you working on tonight, Wilson?
I have some last bit of coloring to finish up on one project. I turned in 2 lettering projects this week, and I have like 2 coloring projects to work on. And I have a cover to do at some point. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. So it's just a bunch of different little projects, all kind of due at the same time for no apparent reason other than they're just all due at the same time. I think my editors conspire together and go, all right, let's give him nothing, and then this 1 week it's all due at the same time.
Could have had all this done
if
we spread it out, but no, we can't do that.
But no,
that would
give it
take
to them all at
planning.
the same time. Yep. But it's the life I chose, or was it chosen for me? I don't know.
It wasn't the life you chose; it was the life that was thrust upon you.
That's right.
Because nobody chooses to have the people above them not be very good at planning. That's not really a choice either way.
That's very true. Didn't even make it to the comic book shop this week. So I do have a new book. I haven't even opened it.
Let's open it up.
I got something on Kickstarter a couple of weeks this week. So I did get a new book.
The most expensive way to buy comics.
Yes. So there's some stickers on it. And I haven't even done an unboxing or an opening for my social media. So this will count.
Oh, look at that. He froze up. Oh, there he goes. He's moving again.
Yeah, I'm just
He froze up for a minute. I'm like, uh-oh. Someone doesn't want him unboxing.
So it looks like it's put into one of these, I think it's Gemini board one.
Gemini mailer.
Yes.
which always puts, who sings Gemini Dream? Is that ELO or something? It's a Gemini Dream. Do. Might be ELO.
Maybe. I do not know. I don't really follow music as much as I do everything else. So
Well, you'd have to follow music in the 70s to know that.
right, exactly.
Or the 80s.
All right. So it's not a regular comic book size. Looks like it's magazine size. So let's see. It looks like I got a little sticker.
Let's get you solo. There we go.
Here's a sticker.
What does that say?
LaserWolfAttack.com.
LaserWolfAttack.com.
So this book is by Andrew McLean, and it is called Snargon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Snarlagon.
Snarlagon. Andrew McLean.
So it's here's the back. So I know really nothing about it except I saw it pop up on Kickstarter, and it was like, okay, that looks like something I would enjoy. So it's a $10 graphic novel, or price tag is $10 on the cover. I don't recall what I paid for shipping.
Probably paid $24 for it. Yeah.
Probably.
That's the way Kickstarter is.
Yeah. So black and white comic, Snarlagon. So it has a kaiju
Sort of theme.
Sort of theme to it, and I know really nothing else about it, but I did like the art style to it.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that would be a fun comic to get, or graphic novel. This paper is very heavy. It feels like they printed it on Bristol board.
Wow.
Well, at least the cover.
Yeah.
I think you could draw on it. And the inside paper is a pretty heavy paper too.
Good card stuff.
Show some artwork. So I really enjoy the art style. I think there's a lot of fun to it. I've seen this person's work before, but I don't recall in what book. But it popped up, and it's like, okay, it's a kaiju book. Why not give it a try? And
Why not?
So I figured, let's skip into a middle page. We got a nice couple of kaijus fighting, and again, very cute style. I do like it. I like the gray tones to it. So it looks like it's either marker or painted. Maybe it's just a gray wash. And I'll eventually read it and do a review later. But it has some cool stuff. And what I like at the end, they kind of have, like, I guess the creators who work on it kind of making it look like it was an actual movie they did, done in that kind of that style of the giant monsters.
62 Lefty Blues said Andrew McLean did the Headlopper series. I remember that one. I didn't buy that, but I remember other people buying it when it came. It was a series from Image called Headlopper.
Right. So like I've seen the person's work before, but this is the first time I ever picked up anything to actually read. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's pretty cool. So it's 8.5 by 11 graphic novel size, printed on like a heavy stock. This almost feels like Bristol. And the interior pages feel like
Headlopper is great.
If the interior pages feel kind of like it's definitely a harder card stock. It could have very well been printed at home and then cut.
Yeah, I think Headlopper was one of those books that when it came out, my pull list was pretty full, and it was like an $8 jumbo size book. So like I ended up not getting it, but I always thought it looked cool.
So yeah, that's my new book. At least, so I do have a book for the week.
There you go. He's got something to look forward to reading. And here's a book that when I was doing my pull list haul this week, I was like, why did I get this? I was like, I don't remember why I ordered this book. I couldn't remember. And it's Outer Spacemen #1
Ah, look at that.
by Fabian Nicieza and Chris Baptista with Wilson Ramos in it too. And I was like, was this a Kickstarter book?
That was a Kickstarter book at one time, yes. But it's
Because I
also
know it said
available
there's like a
in the comic
copyright
shop.
2021 back here.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, this
That-
may have been a kick. And there was no UPC on it. So like my comic shop had its own UPC on the bag, which I had to tear off to get open.
Right. So the book was originally kickstarted.
Mhm.
Issues were printed, and then it was eventually offered onto Diamond.
Right.
And so this way here, comic shops can order them. And so these were what was left over from
Right.
the initial sales, because we published it with another company that paid into the print run, and a lot of copies were printed. I don't know how many issues were printed, but so we did have Kickstarters for that as well. Because there's also alternate covers.
Copyright Mel Bimkrant 2022. So
Mel is the creator of the Outer Spacemen, so it was
Okay.
licensed. It was
Now
licensed. to Mel.
were the Outer Space, were they toys?
They were toys originally done back in the day,
They were
published,
like
I guess you could say, by Color Forms. Those are
they were like the
60s toys.
60s, right? They were
Yeah, they were bendies. The
Yeah.
original set of toys were bendies, put out, I believe, in the 60s. Then
because
the copyright.
they were before my time, but I think Bunch had some of them. He
Yes.
knew who they were, but I didn't.
Yeah, they were late 60s bendy characters originally. And then since then, they've been a few incarnation of the toys. The last one, I think, were designed by the Four Horsemen. And so every few years, a new set of toys gets put out. So there are toys in production that is not the bendies, like regular kind of action figures,
Right.
but still in the kind of the same vein of the bendies, where they're smaller than usual action figures.
My cousin George works for the Four Horsemen. For those who don't know, they're a toy company and they were toy designers. And there's only 3 horsemen. I think the 4th horseman left the business 8 years ago. But this is written by Fabian Nicieza, artwork by Chris Baptista, lettered by Wilson Ramos Jr., colored by Nick Capone. Then the back, there's the Galactic Files, written by Frank Lavis. I don't know how to pronounce. I've always seen that name, Lavecchi, but I don't think I've ever pronounced it. Frank Lavecchi, artwork by Wilson Ramos Jr. Now, does that mean you prepared these? As this is.
Yes, I put together the designs and stuff like that. So the artwork is photos that they provided.
Photos of the toys.
Right, and I did the coloring of that particular cover, because there was alternate covers as well.
Right.
That one, yes, I did the coloring of that particular cover. That's over Chris Baptista.
Right on the back, it says main cover: Chris Baptista, Wilson Ramos Jr.
What was the name of Lavecchi's fanzine in the 90s? He did one where
he wrote, as far as I'm aware of, he wrote for Marvel, Hokum and Heck, and a few of the Clive Barker universe stuff. And his own book was from Epic. He did a book called, give me a minute because I have it on my desktop.
And there's another covered by John Hebert and Gordon Purcell, 2 different ones that Wilson also colored.
Yes. Atomic Age was the book, the Epic book that he did, that he wrote.
But he had some sort of prozine that had news articles in it.
If he did, I don't recall the title of it, because he works for so many different news outlets and stuff like that over the years. He unfortunately was one of those writers who all his editors were let go when it was either Marvolution or whichever one of the Marvel cuts happened. So all his editors were let go. But he was writing some stuff from Marvel back in the 90s.
And it's from Apex Comics Group, which is Andy Schmidt, who is also an editor at Marvel at one point. He's the
No, Apex is in Andy.
Oh, well, that's right. I got another one from Andy. Pardon me. Yeah. CEX is Andy. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
Apex is Mariano Nicieza.
Nicieza.
Nicieza, who is also, I haven't said it out loud in so long, I can't remember. Where did he work? Because he's Fabian's brother.
At Marvel, he worked in sales. And he was an editor for like Tech War and books like that.
And Frank Levici is the editor-in-chief. And the art director is Wilson Ramos Jr. Look at that.
Yes.
I remember seeing Mariano Nicieza's name in Star Trek books.
Yes, he's worked on Star Trek stuff over the years. Because he has a relationship, obviously, with William Shatner, because he was doing Tech War and other books like that.
Right, because you had the rights to the Paramount Comics line back in '95 or something.
Yes.
But you know what this reminded me of all things?
What's that?
Jack Katz's The First Kingdom. I don't know if you guys have ever read that. It's hard to read. But there's like Fabian's doing a lot of sort of mythological world building in this. He's giving you sort of the mythology behind the outer spaceman. So that's why it reminds me of that. It's written in this mythological style. Here are these tremendous events that happened long ago to bring us to where we are. Which the First Kingdom goes on and on and on and on and on about for a long time.
And this also has a brand new character introduced at the end. Colton, I think.
Colonel Colton.
Right, he's the
Colonel Colton legend.
Right, so he's the first new character added to the Outer Spacemen mythos.
Yeah, they're the Outer Spacemen. But it was an enjoyable issue. But you should have said, I'm like, why did I get this? I cannot remember. And that's not the first time that's happened.
Right.
For, because that's what I do. Like, and it'll happen this weekend. I'll get the final order cut off for stuff, and I'll go and click on links. And if something catches my eye, I'll add it to my pull list, at least the first issue. And sometimes I forget I did. I'm like, why did I pick this one? I don't remember.
Gotta be a reason.
Gotta be a reason. Because I usually don't buy either Fabian or Chris Batista's stuff. Because I'm mostly an indie guy, and Fabian's mostly a mainstream writer. So it's not like I bought a ton of his stuff over the years.
Sorry about that.
I told you never to call me at this number. Hang up. That's what you got to do.
Don't call me at this time.
I told you never to call me on this phone.
This phone is
you can't slam down a phone anymore. You can only go, I
no,
told you
not
never to
at
call
all.
me at this number.
Like, there's that whole, you can't slam a phone. It's like, what's funny too is watching TikToks and stuff like that. Like, how do you mimic holding a phone? And I'm still like this.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that you hold it like that. It's just kind of weird.
People still do that.
Yeah.
I see this one guy on TikTok. He does sort of comedy bits about being in the armed forces. And he's always talking to someone, and he just like holds up a water bottle, holds up whatever he's got in his hand to pretend he's talking on the phone. Well, okay. Is that Wilson's cover? He did the coloring on it. On that one. And Chris Batista drew it, right, you said?
Yes. Chris penciled and inked that one.
What has he done? I know his name, but I can't think of a thing he's done.
For Marvel, he did Space Knights.
Okay.
For DC, he started on Steel. And he's done a ton of stuff in between. He's currently on they made the announcement a couple of weeks ago. So he's currently on Gotcha Man. That's starting up a new series by Mad Cave. But he's jumped around, done a ton of stuff all over the place. So he's one of those workhorses that every time you see him, he's on whatever project he's working on. So the last thing that I saw him work on were the pages from the Outer Spaceman, but there's been a ton of projects between that and the newly announced Gotcha Man stuff. Unfortunately, I did not follow what he was doing next. And on social media, he tends to just post images of the stuff he likes to post, not necessarily what he's currently working on.
Yeah, somebody I know, I think, is good friends with him, but I can't think of who, because I know his name from over the years. Whoever I know who's friends with him, speaking of him, but I couldn't. I was like, I don't know his work at all that I can think of.
And he always came by at Marvel, kind of thing. So he always visit me when he came to Marvel. Like, we both started our careers around the same exact time.
I must know him. But I can't remember. It's been so long.
He's the type that would come in and spend a good amount of hours at Marvel,
right?
Visiting all the editors he knows, and then he would visit everybody in the bullpen, kind of thing. So I'm almost positive you had to have at least
I have
seen him in the bullpen hanging out.
His name is really familiar. Like I'm like, I should know him, right? I mean, his name it's not like a stranger's name. It's the name of somebody I know. I just don't remember.
I think he started on G.I. Joe for Marvel with his very first set of work, and then jumped around. So the last thing I remembered at Marvel was Space Knights, and I think Mike Martz was his editor. Which now Mike Martz is over at Mad Cave, and Chris is now working at Mad Cave. So it all connects.
Wow, it's been 18 years since I was last at Marvel. How does time pass like that?
I do not know. I do not know. I was looking at some files, and it's like, oh, this file is from 2013. That was a while ago. Time is weird, especially when you're working, or for me, especially when you're working from home, and it's because a lot of times it's the same day. Art comes in, art goes out. So
it's Groundhog Day. So your sense of time is all
it's just a different book I'm lettering, but not so different, because every few months it's the same set of books. And it's not realizing how long have I been working for this one company. It's Paper Cuts is not, for me, a new company. And yet it's still in my mind. It's I just started there, but I didn't. I've been there for a while now. So it's kind of funny with time and memory. It's just wow. I did a lot of books.
I don't think you were here when we were just talking about this earlier. I bought up Craig Thompson, who does ginseng roots. I bought this Habibi book. And this came out in 2011.
Okay.
I was like, wow, that's a long time ago for me to only have heard of it, because Gus mentioned it, Mind the Comics, a couple months ago when I started talking about ginseng roots. Now, let's say after Blankets, I completely lost, because I wasn't that impressed with Craig Thompson's Blankets, which came out 2005 or something now. So I didn't really keep track of the stuff he did. So it's until I picked up Ginseng Roots, this year, whenever it was. And I'm like, wow, this came out that long ago. And here's the Here's the hidden treasure in this book. I got it off of eBay from a used bookstore, and it was someone's Secret Santa present. There's the Secret Santa note going, "Hope you like this book. I really loved it."
Wow.
Obviously, not only was there a Secret Santa message, there was a kid's drawing.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, this was a secret Santa gift that the guy went, a comic book, a book I have to read? No. Should have gave me some DVDs. Is there a movie of that? I find it funny that came out. So I'm like, oh, it came out a few years ago in 2011. No, that was 12 years ago.
Right. Yeah, it's just, every now and then it's like, yeah, I started at Marvel, and then it's like that number's a 19 that starts that number. And it's like, oh, gee whiz.
That's one of the reasons I always liked the months on comic books, and which they don't really do anymore. They don't, or at least the indies I get don't have months on them. But it's like when you get a pack, when you get a bunch, you pull a bunch of comics off your shelf, the same, Amazing Spider-Man, whatever issues you're looking through. It's like a time machine. You can watch the months go by as you're flipping through the covers.
Right.
And I always kind of liked that time machine aspect of it. And once they took the months off, of the indie ones, definitely, it's kind of less of a time machine to me. Without those months flipping by like a calendar in a movie, with the wind blowing the days off.
Passage of time.
The passage of time. I read it again, this book for this week, was another Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker book. A Reckless book, The Ghost in You. This is what they've been what did they do? Criminal. They've done stuff over the years, but for the last, 3 years now at least, they've been releasing these hardcover graphic novels rather than comic book series, which I kind of like the individual series better, but whatever. I'll get the hardcover because I feel no rush to get the hardcover graphic novels. And this one, the list price on it is $25, but I often I put these on my Amazon wish list, and my family gets them for me for birthday or Christmas. And usually, once you get them on Amazon, or you get them for $15, $20 rather than $25. So I never feel any rush to get these books because the price always goes down on them.
Right.
It's like, why do I have to? It's not like a comic book where if I don't buy it, I'll never see it again. Like the comics I get are sort of small press, they're all indie books. So it's like if I don't put it on my pull list, I'll never see it. If I don't buy it, I'll never see it. So, but with these, I know I'll always see them. They'll be on the Amazon page for $1 less than it was last month. But yeah, so I think I got this one last Christmas or something. And Reckless is the name of the series that are about this this guy. I forget his name. Let's see if they have it here. I bet, but this one is about a guy. The stories take place in the 1980s. I think he was from their Criminal series originally. And this is a flat, and I think the Criminal series took place in the 90s. And this is a flashback to him in the 1980s in LA, working as a sort of unlicensed private investigator. And He also, I think he lives and runs in an old theater, an old theater that shows, old movies kind of thing. But that's just sort of his sideline. It's a rundown old place that's sort of his sideline when he's not involved in shady deals and doing private investigating for shady deals. But this book actually isn't about him. Ethan there. Yes, this time it's the winter of 1989 and Ethan is out of town. So Anna is forced to tackle the case on her own. When a movie scream queen asks her to investigate the mysterious happenings at a mansion she's renovating, Anna will stumble into the decades-long mystery of one of Hollywood's most infamous murder houses, a place with many dark secrets, some of which might just kill her. So this one's mostly about this woman with the purple hair right here. And purple hair wasn't common in 1989. And her mother didn't like it. And I remember, like, the reason I decided to reread this one is it was kind of the least favorite of all the Reckless books to me. But I generally like all of their stuff. When I say it's the least favorite, I generally still like their stuff, even if it is the least. So I said, you know what? I want to reread that one. See, how many pages is this? Oh, it doesn't give you a page count. It's something like 100 pages. I don't know what comic books and graphic novels have against page numbers. That's just, I find that weird.
They had an excuse that when they printed the numbers fell off the page or something.
Oh, that's when you just have to paste them down. Now you just hit page number shortcut in InDesign and it automatically numbers them for you.
If you know how to do that.
Yeah, it's real easy.
If you do not know that exists, you have
you
no
might not
idea.
want to put page numbers on.
It's one of those things where, I think it's really one of those cases where if they were not aware where that's done, and if it's not information that some designers will volunteer. It's like, you can put page numbers on here. Okay, put the page numbers on there. That's your job now.
Right.
So I see
right.
it as one of those things where someone didn't ask for it.
Mm-hmm. Right. There are design. I automatically put them on. Matter of fact, I was just having a bad idea was putting out a book they Kickstarted that was 300 pages, and it had a table of contents in the front with page numbers on it. So I, of course, put page numbers on the pages, most of which were not full bleed. And I was discussing it with Peter, the editor, and he's like, "How can we take all the page numbers off?" I'm like, "Why in a million years would you want to take the page numbers off?" I even said, I was like, "You haven't heard all the comic fans complain constantly about 300 or 600 page books with table of contents with page numbers on them and no page numbers on the pages?" He's like, "Yeah, I hear those complaints." He's like, "But sometimes, the page numbers are problematic." I'm like, "You just delete them from those pages. If you don't like the page number on a page because of some bleed, you just delete it off that one."
Yeah,
He's like,
you do
"Oh,
not have to put the
okay.
page number on there.
Yeah."
And
So that's what we did.
Yep.
Worked out fine. Like I said, a lot of it was David Lapham non-bleed artwork. So there was plenty of room for the page number down the bottom. And on the page numbers was there bleed, just deleted it. No problem. I'm just amazed at that sometimes. Like page numbers. Like, yeah, if you're going to put in the table of contents, it's on page 340. The readers should have a way to find page 340 because they're not going to count.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
Yep.
But I enjoyed this the second time through, but there were some weird things about it. And first of all, I think some of it has to do with like me rather than the story. because sometimes, and I think this happens to men in general, is that you see this character or someone in real life who's this sort of struggling, this cute sort of struggling woman, and you just want to help her out, but she don't want help. And this is one of those characters who's, she's young, cute, she's getting through life, she's struggling with, and you just want to help her out. You just want to straighten her out, but she don't want your help. She's muddling through the best she can. So sometimes it's like my desire to want to help, to just go, oh my goodness, could you just do something? Could you just behave yourself? And she wasn't an extreme character either, because I've seen like extreme characters like that. She wasn't even that. Just a couple times I'm like, if you just were normal, you'd be able to figure this out. But you got, she's got mother issues going on in this too, because her mother's a cat. But it's good stuff. But then the ending was a little weird in that, like, it's all about her figuring out the mystery of this house, and she gets stabbed and almost dies at one point too. But then, sort of at the end, she figures out this, there was a sort of sub character who was a police officer. He wasn't one of the main characters, but she figures out he was involved in this plot a little bit. It wasn't really a big reveal or anything like, oh, he's the one behind it all kind of thing. It was really like, oh, he was involved in this too, and he shouldn't have been. And so she goes to confront him, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And that scene ends with Ethan, who's the main character in the other books, because she can't confront this cop physically. She's just a normal person. The guy will beat her up. So this end scene ends with Ethan showing up and saying, I hate crooked cops, and just hitting him with a bat. But then the weird thing that happens narratively is the end of the story, the last, 10 pages, we switch narrators, and it's no longer Anna narrating, it's Ethan narrating, who has narrated all the other books. But usually when they do something like that, they'll like change the color of the narration balloons. So
Right, there's a handoff.
Yeah. They didn't do that in this. They kept the same color. So it takes me like 2 or 3 pages to realize Anna isn't narrating this. And it's just a little strange that the story ends with Ethan's point of view, who wasn't in the whole story. So that was just a little weird. I'm not saying it was a deal breaker or anything. It was just a strange creative choice to me. But like I said, I like all the Brubaker and Phillips stuff. So, have you guys read any of the Brubaker and Phillips stuff?
No.
Their various comic ventures? No,
Well,
it didn't make it over to Portugal.
Oh, it did.
Not that I'm aware of.
We have
Not that I recall.
we have a full Brubaker library.
Okay.
But most of the stuff I didn't go for. I just have Solo. Not Solo. Pulp.
Pulp was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. Fatale. Read that one if you can. That one's a lot of fun.
I tried Fatale still in English. Volume 1 was not.
Didn't do it for you?
No.
What's the other one he did that's about they did about superheroes? I can't remember. Incognito, that's it. They did one called Incognito that's about superheroes. Well, call them superheroes is a stretch. Because they're really, it's kind of like The Boys, only not really, because they're the boys under, not over the top. The Boys is over the top, but The Boys are, the people you call in when the superheroes are out of control. And there's a little of that going on in Incognito. They have superheroes, and if they get out of control, they get put down. And I think this guy was one of the ones who worked for them, but he was trying not to get put down. I have to reread it. It was good stuff, though. Incognito was, if you like superhero stuff, that's a decent starting point for Brubaker and Phillips. Have you read any Brubaker and Phillips, Wilson?
I looked up some of the books to see, and there is nothing popping out.
Yeah, if you're not reading indie stuff, you're probably not reading their stuff.
Right, I'm not. I know the name, so I'm pretty sure I probably read Brubaker's like regular comic book stuff.
Oh yeah, Brubaker is a big name in superhero comics too. He wrote Death of Captain America, right?
Yeah, I think Winter Soldier and X-Men versus Avengers and series like that. But his indie stuff, I don't think I've touched.
And he did a lot of stuff on Batman, including or was that Rucka? Or was that both of them? Gotham Central, the one with
that was Rucka, I think.
That was Rucka.
Brubaker, he may have done Catwoman.
He did some Catwoman and some Batman stuff, because some Batman covers are popping up under his name.
And Wilson, my Wacom tablet, my Cintiq, it's my 13, this is 12 or 13 inch Cintiq stopped working. So I spent like 2 hours this morning trying to figure out if it was the Cintiq or one of the connectors. And I think it's one of the connectors.
Ah, okay.
A VGA to USB 3 connect. So I ordered another one. But I was like, you ever see that effect they have in video when a screen's going? It's going like, and it's moving around, and that's what it was doing.
Oh, okay.
But the funny thing was, if I didn't look at if I could turn the screen off, the pen worked fine. Like the pen, if I could use it like a tablet with no screen, it would have worked fine.
Oh wow, okay. So it's connecting somewhere, but not fully.
The video connection wasn't working, because I think this one it's from 2008, this model.
Right.
So it's got a video connection. Oh, thumbs up. Fireworks. It's got a video connection and a USB connection. So I think the USB must work the pen part of it. And of course, the video connects up to the video card.
That sounds correct. Because I know on mine, I have a mono piece as my main monitor, and I could draw on it. And I do know that there are different connections to it. So if I have my USB connection to it, I believe that's what actually helps the pen work on it.
But luckily, I still have one of my 2008 towers up and running, sort of as a backup and just storage. So I was able to hook it up to that through its VGA port, without and it worked fine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, this must have gone bad somehow. I think
that's the culprit.
Yeah, culprit.
Today.
So
culprit.
I'm like, well, I'm glad it was a $10 piece, or $12 piece. So I don't want to buy a new tablet. And I hooked up. I have a Huion graphics tablet, but it's not one with a screen, which is actually okay with me, because I don't even use the screen that much. But I find the graphics tablet. You know what I find with non-Wacom tablet graphic tablets is the edges of it are iffy. So it's like when I bring the pen down to where the dock is, the bottom of the screen on the Mac, sometimes if you go a little bit too far, it makes it's like you can go off the edge, and then if you can bring it back on the edge, it doesn't work. You have to go like all the way back on and then back. So sometimes it takes like 3 times to get my dock up and stable. and it's just such a pain.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Wacom, which is you just move it down there, get your dock up, move it, and there's no problems like that. So I don't know what it is, but with the Huey on, I read the fade out, and some of the fade out I enjoyed. That was a pretty good. That was the 1940s Hollywood one. I got fully tired of Brubaker and Phillip, disliked the poorly fashioned photo reference style, and find the narrative bread on butter. I can understand that. Like I said, you have to really buy into the genre because it's really genre work. It's, tough guy, private eye, noir genre stuff. And if you get tired of that, you're going to get tired of all their stuff. And I've heard people say that they think Brubaker's art has gotten a little worse, and I might agree with them. Like something like the fade out. I was amazed by the fade out because one of the things that Sean Phillips was able to do in the fade out was because the fade out was about like I said, it was old. Once again, it was Hollywood noir, but there were like starlets in it, Hollywood, starlets, Hollywood leading men, and then just sort of regular pretty women. And he could really draw the distinction between a pretty woman and a starlet in a way that to me is like, wow, you just never see that. Because usually there is no distinction in comics between, a pretty woman and a Hollywood starlet. Everyone's drawn like a superhero or whatever, or not. But like just the fact that he was able to consistently make that distinction really impressed me. I'm all out with guys who Photoshop photos into drawings. I don't know if he actually does that, but he works from photos at times because he was completely digital for a while. But there's a difference between photo referencing and photorealism, and I'm okay with photo referencing as long as you can do it well, and he can do it well, so I'm okay with it, especially when he can get that subtlety. It's like your average artist can, even your above average artist can't do that. That's not photo reference, that's subtlety of drawing. So I really enjoyed the fade out, but I think there's less subtlety of drawing in these latest ones. And that might be, and I know he went all digital a few years ago, but I think he switched back at some point too. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can find something like, and I also think one of the problems is, I think Elizabeth Breitweiser is just a better color than Jacob Phillips. Like here's sort of a bland page of her in her kitchen that I think Brubaker used to excel at, but I don't think he does anymore. And I think that might have to do with the color too. And the color's not bad at all. It's just that I think Elizabeth Breitweiser's color was spectacular, while Jacob Phillips' color is just good. And like, I think he's got to even more of a shorthand in his folds than he used to have. But I still kind of like it, so I'm not. And he like his hair technique in this woman is just kind of nothing. So I think he's not paying attention to some of the details he used to. I don't know why that. I don't know what that is. I don't know why that is. Some of that makes me go, I wonder what's going on. But overall, I still enjoy it. So I got no real complaints about his art, but I can understand other people having complaints. That color is bad on that one page. Like I don't I don't think Jacob Phillips is a bad colorist. I just think Elizabeth Breitweiser is one of the best.
Well, using pastels to color is sort of the modern thing of U.S. comics.
It's not even
I don't-
it's color schemes. That's what they do.
Mhm.
They pick a scheme, they pick a set of 6 colors to color this scene with. And I can't remember what book I was reading recently where it wasn't done badly, but I've had I think it was the other Jacob Phillips book that he colored that I was talking about last week. Can't remember the name of it, the last book they did, but I'm really tired of warm and cool color motifs. It's nighttime out, so here's the cool color motif. They're in a club, so here's the warm color motif. They're outside in the sunshine. Here's the warm yellowish color motif, and it's just like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, like there's not enough mauve in the real world. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, bright flat colors are appropriate every once in a while.
Yeah, but it's the motifs that bother me. It's the that's what colorists do these days. I'm going to use purple for this mood. Oh, I'm going to use orange for this mood. And it's like, okay, I've seen enough of the monochrome.
I think I know what the problem is. Not enough young people rebelling against their parents by listening to heavy metal. Because their parents listen to heavy metal. But yeah, there's a. I don't think that that young people, when they break out, they're being exposed to more extreme art forms. That are purposefully violent. Not that they're portraying violence, but the art that's supposed to get you inside your senses.
Well,
so everything is subdued.
I think a lot of it too is it's easier. Comic coloring doesn't pay a lot. It's easier to go monochrome, and you can talk someone. You can have a reason for you. Oh, it's nighttime, so we're going to use cool colors, and you can convince your editor, your writer, whoever's overseeing of that, and it'll take you less time. I think that's a lot of it too. I think a lot of it is it's just easier to color that way. Why am I going to, if I can make this scene all blue and it fits, and I can convince my writer that it fits thematically with the story, that'll save me a lot of time. I think that is part of it also. And because that sort of thematic use of color is easy to learn. It's easy to learn that use blues at night.
Yeah, my favorite was always the purple knockout when you're coloring something and it's like, oh, Marie Severin, thank you for creating that, or at least using it in comics, because sometimes, it is about the speed. You got to get it
Right.
done. And then a solid color with a couple of gradients here and there, and you're done.
Right.
And that's it, right? So you have the colorist and then the letterer. So each person down the totem pole, or each person on the conveyor belt, rather to say, gets less and less time.
Yeah.
As it goes by. For some reason the writer gets all the time in the world. And then the artist gets even less time, and then you just get less and less as they go.
Yeah, Breitweiser is amazing. She uses blocks or splashes of color, real cool and artsy. Outcast color was, she knows what she's doing. When she was coloring Phillips stuff, I really, really was impressed by her. I was impressed by her on Outcast. Did nice stuff. She never has to go monochrome. She can throw splashes of color in the monochrome and get just what she wants. Oh, there was another two issues. If you remember Radiant Black, the last issue I got, 25. This is 26 and 26.5. And if you remember part 2 and part 3 of the Catalyst War, at the end of last issue, there was over the first 25 issue, the first issue of Radiant Black, Sky moves in his 30s, moves back to his old hometown, meets because his career as a writer has failed, moves back in with his parents, and hangs out with one of his old high school buddies. And those two, he got injured. Those two guys, the two old high school buddies, have been both wearing the Radiant Black suit. So they were at the end of issue like 24. They were like, only one of you can wear the Radiant Black suit in order for us to get through this. So there were two issue 25s, both mostly the same, different ending, and issue with each one ending up being the one to wear the Radiant Black suit. So this one, we get one guy wearing the Radiant Black suit, the other guy wearing the Radiant Black suit. So it's the same story sort of split into two alternate universes. And I don't know how long they're going to go on, because some of the pages were duplicated, but some of them weren't. So I was like, I don't know how long they're going to keep this up. But it was kind of interesting because the two guys sort of have different styles of being Radiant Black too. One guy is sort of good at teamwork. He's sort of the writer. He's the writer character. And his friend from high school is better at fighting. He's kind of got an imagination for fighting. So his friend from high school is like the better Green Lantern. He can think of things. But like one of the distinctions between the two stories was that, like, if you read part 2 first, and this is the story of the writer guy. And like I said, he's the one who is better at teamwork and thinks of people first. He's kind of less selfish. So there was one point, and in this story, that there's like some giant intergalactic people coming down to kill everyone on Earth, and unless Radiant Black passes these tests or something, your typical sci-fi story, sort of like comic book. He's got to fight off all this invasion, but first he has to pass these tests that the invaders are giving him, kind of thing. So at one point, and I thought it was his family, but I don't think it's his family. Like, people are trying to get out of the city because there's these alien robots invading and blowing people up. So here's this family trapped in this car. At first I thought it was someone he knew, but I think they're just like a random family. And so Radiant Black says, okay, but first we gotta, here we can fight in the city. It's mostly evacuated except for this one area we have to evacuate. So he calls on Radiant Pink to help, who can teleport. So she basically teleports all the, wipes her out. She teleports all the cars out of there. And then he ends up fighting all these giant robot monsters. Now, and he saves all the people in the cars and fights the giant robot monsters. And then in the next story, we get where his high school friends, they're all in their 30s now. He is Radiant Black in this one. So he flies off on his own. There are the cars there to try and fight this guy. And he doesn't think to save these people in these cars. But he's actually a better fighter. So he ends up fighting the giant robots, and he takes them out a little easier. Except, where is it? At the end of the story, we see the same family from the first story, except they died in their car. Because he didn't think to save all the people. That's not his personality. His personality is so it was an interesting juxtaposition of the two. And they didn't make him out to be the villain of the piece or anything, nothing like that. It was just that, different choices, different consequences. I'm sure people died in this one too, but it was interesting reading them. I got to say, I'm really enjoying the split Radiant Black in this first issue of it. I don't know how many issues they can keep it up, but it'll be fun to see.
Is the art team the same in each book?
I think it was. Let's see. No, I think we had the art is very similar. The writers, Kyle Higgins and Joe Clark, penciler Marcella Costa, Paolo's cousin, a colorist Rod Fernandez, letterer Becca Carey. And in this one, we've got Higgins and Clark, and the penciler is Eduardo Ferragato Cat. The colorist is Raul and Julo, and the letterer is Becca Carey. So different penciler and different colorist. No inker.
Okay. All
but
right.
very similar styles.
Right.
I mean,
But
I
like
really
the numbering system bothers me in general, but I like the fact that it's not like it's the same. You're getting the
No.
same artwork, and then 2 or 3 pages are different.
right.
So that's what I was wondering. Because it's like I do
Matter of
like
fact-
when they do weird crossover stuff, like Avengers and Fantastic Four annuals. I think it was back in one of the I think it's a Kree Skrull War
Like-
or something in that effect, where you would get 1 page crosses over
Like
the same.
they have pages in common. Like here's the splash page.
Right.
So I think they like the very beginning was very similar. Oh yeah, it's not the same though. It's very similar, but not the same.
Okay, cool. All right.
That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't looked at them side by side.
Because one of the coolest things I remember reading as a kid was, I think it was Avengers and a Fantastic Four annual, and they're both having their space adventures. And at some point, they run into each other, and they kind of use the same exact panels of them shaking hands, and then they go off and continue their own little adventure. But it was really cool that they kind of crossed it over with the artwork being the same.
Like, let me see if I can show you this.
It helped that Burton drew both issues because
Yes.
These are the same exact layouts drawn by 2 different artists.
Okay.
So there's slight variation in them. So that's interesting. I wonder who laid it out.
Excuse me.
Because if I didn't have those side by side, I was thinking I'd be looking at the same page.
Right.
Interesting. So it's an interesting little experiment going on with Radio Black and storytelling. Oh, and I think these covers also connect.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good series in general. Oh, up to issue 20. It's funny, comics get up to issue 26 these days. And I'm like, whoa, that's a big number.
I think it's easier for the indies to do that because they're maybe less likely to drop off. They get after the first few issues. There's a few people experimenting, and then it levels out. If you stay with it beyond issue number 4, you stay with it.
Yeah.
And it's not like Marvel or DC where people just keep jumping off.
I can remember, I think it was in the late 90s, when comics were doing terribly. and somebody said the most stable area of comics are guys like Terry Moore, who have their 10,000 fans who will buy everything they do. I was like, you know what? I think he's right. That is when you're doing your own sort of black and white comic and you got 10,000 fans, that's who are stable. You're in good shape. Duplicated pages with different artists. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, cool. Guess they have a steady following. Yeah, I think with indie books, if you can level off at a steady number that can keep you going towards your trade paperback release, you're in good shape. With Marvel and DC books, nothing levels out, and management always wants a new number one, because why in the world would some middle manager who notices that first issues sell 100,000 copies and 11th issues sell 30,000 copies want to sell any 11th issues? I mean, it makes sense from a middle manager point of view.
Right.
Why don't we make them all first issues?
Yeah.
Like Dave Sim. Every issue a new number one. Helps him sell 1,100 copies of Cerebus. Wow, 1,100 copies. That's nothing.
But for him, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to share the
that
money with anyone.
Fan base, yeah.
Hey, keeps cranking them out. I keep buying them.
Yep.
I wonder how many issues. I don't have to see how many issues of it I have.
You have the whole. That's why he keeps putting them out. They're for you.
I think I'm missing 2 issues which just never came to my comic shop.
Oh, okay.
I forget which one. It was just like, they just didn't come in, and Diamond had none. And
although it should be selling more because every issue is a new number one.
You would think so. Maybe it would really be selling 200 copies if every issue wasn't a number one. Only one way to find out.
An unlimited limited series of all new number ones. See, Dave Sim is a publishing genius. Now all Marvel need to do is copy him. And they need to start.
Who wants to do a Reed, Rip, and Slab? I got some in the pipeline here.
Sure.
Let me open up Safari. Pick a decade. Let's see if I got one. 1975.
Sounds good.
Yep. I was 4 years old.
1975 black and white magazines.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We have got Dracula Lives annual number 1, Eerie number 68, and Savage Tales number 12. Who published that Dracula Lives? Is that a Charles?
No, it's a Marvel.
It's a Marvel? I'm looking for that big. I thought it was, but then I see that C up top.
Candace? That when they were owned by Candace?
Maybe. That
Curtis was the distributor. For a time, we used to think that thing was that thing was the publisher logo or a brand logo, but it wasn't. It was just the distributor.
CC Curtis code.
Okay, so
I was still pasting down those Curtis code numbers in the early 90s on covers.
Okay, so I need to check something about that Eerie. because I know that both the Dracula and the Savage Tales are reprints.
It's the Giant Summer Special, that
Yep.
Eerie.
But the Eerie is not reprints. So I'm going to read the Eerie, slab the Savage Tales because it covers great, and rip Dracula Lives because it's a terrible Dracula Lives cover.
I like that cover. It may be terrible, but it's entertainingly terrible.
I could make a poster with that Savage Tales.
I
You
think
don't
that
want more
Dracula
pages
Lives
and more thrills?
is so busy.
And
I
more
know,
reprints.
I kind of like it.
I think
Does Dracula have like a tiny man standing on his shoulder?
No,
I
it's
think that's the poster, the Doc Savage poster behind him. But tiny, he has a little Doc Savage devil on his shoulder. Burn it all.
No, that's great product placement for the Doc Savage magazine.
Wow, all the same. Slab Dracula because it's a cool cover. There you go. Read Eerie, Rip Savage. Read Eerie, slab Khazar, and Rip Dracula too.
I would slab Eerie. I would read Savage Tales. And I would stab Dracula with a wooden pencil to rip up that comic book and kill the vampire once and for all.
Kill the vampire.
Kill the
I am going to
vampire.
slab Dracula Lives because I like that cover. I'm going to read Eerie because I like that cover, which leaves Savage Tales to be torn up. I don't like that cover so much anyway. So
I don't know if
Fantastic Collection Edition.
I don't know if it's my screen, but does Eerie have a fifth color? I mean,
I don't think so.
Logo,
that logo might be. If
that
any,
logo,
that could be a fifth color. I'm not sure.
Wondering if it's a fifth color. Again, just production people would notice that right away. It's like that looks so bright of a pink.
Slab Eerie, read Dracula, Rip Savage Tale.
Funny thing, the Khazar stories inside the magazine come from Astonishing Tales. They're black and white reprints of the color comic.
Ah.
But they have Barry Windsor Smith art, which is I believe the reason they chose those stories.
Is that a Gray Morrow cover in Dracula Lives? I think it might be because nobody painted or drew middle-aged men in suits quite like Gray Morrow.
It is Gray Morrow.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, okay.
That's fun. I didn't recognize his Dracula or that colorful style. I recognized those two guys in front, like those middle-aged men. I was like, that looks like Gray Morrow.
I would replace that dragon creature thingy on the Khazar cover with a dinosaur. I mean, with a dolphin.
I'm doing just the opposite. I'm replacing Khazar with the dolphin.
Ooh.
So that giant monster thing is going to be eating them.
A savage dolphin.
I am replacing the crucifix on Dracula Lives with the dolphin.
Let's see. Flamingos replacing E on Eerie's logo. Dolphin is the cross shown to Dracula.
I would have the flamingos hanging out on that poster with Doc Savage in the background.
Well,
just looking out.
Eerie looks like Ken Kelly.
Now, Kelly has more energy, but it's not that far away.
I like the flamingos back there with Doc Savage. Since that's already done, I'm gonna put the flamingos at the bottom behind the bodies in Eerie coming out of the mist. Ooh. So you'll see two pink flamingo forms right behind the mist, looking quizzically at the action. Because those flamingos are always looking quizzically.
I'm going to put the flamingos on Zabu's back. because they're going to be judging Zabu. I mean, They're going to be thinking, look at this idiot. I mean, we can fly off. We have wings. You're a saber-toothed tiger on a pterodactyl. You're going to fall off and die.
Changed Khazar's knife to a dolphin, so he's attacking him with a dolphin. Will he be holding the dolphin by the tail and swinging him at him?
68.
Ken Kelly. Huh?
It is a Ken Kelly.
That Khazar figure actually looks familiar. It looks like one of those times they painted over a comic book penciler's pencils.
Who was doing Khazar back then? That was Earl Norm? No.
That cover is Ken Barr.
Is who?
Ken Barr.
Ken Barr?
Mm-hmm.
I can picture a dolphin wearing hunter's helmet.
That Eerie as a story by written and drawn by Bernie Wrightson.
You know what? John Romita may have done a pencil sketch for him.
Yeah.
Because especially, you know what happens with some of those illustrators that Marvel used in the 70s is like John Romita would do some pencil sketch for them and they would follow it exactly.
Yeah.
It's like they wouldn't, because like most comic book artists, you give a pencil sketch to and they go, all right, I'll follow that part. I'll follow that part. I won't follow that part. I'll put my own thing here. These illustrators were like, nope, that's the sketch you gave me. That's what I'm following. Mm-hmm. And that kind of looks like that happened there. Yeah, Khazar does seem like a Romita pose. Yeah, it does. That's the one thing that jumps out at me on that cover is it looks like a Romita pose.
Yeah.
If not Romita, some other. That doesn't look like a pose an illustrator would come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those gray Morrow middle-aged men. They are distinct.
There's a Paul Neary story in that Eerie, drawn by Paul Neary. I didn't know he was already drawing in 75.
Wow, neither did I.
How old is Neary?
Was Frazetta already being copied, or just the best of his era? Frazetta was being copied in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, but he was, he was definitely being copied in 75. Or at least his influence was huge. I don't think anyone there was really copying him, but Frazetta was imitated very early on, Gus. Yeah.
Because all the way back when wasn't he doing like covers in the 50s as well? Sci-fi covers.
He was doing like I think his Conan covers were from the 60s, right?
I think so, but I think he had like sci-fi stuff in the 50s.
Well, no, he was mostly comic books in the 50s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then the late 50s, he started getting his illustration career kicked off. Then I think it was the Conan books that really put him on the map, the Conan paperbacks. I haven't read his biography in so long, I'm not 100% sure. But at least like the Conan illustrations put him on the map for the general public. I'm sure editors knew who he was and wanted to hire him.
I think they started putting those on in 67, following Howard's done. Yeah, 67.
67 was the Conan books?
Yeah, by Lancer.
So he may have even had a ton of stuff before 67. I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing if I have my Frazetta book right here.
Apes, Dinosaurs, and Babes. That's the guy I follow. I hadn't realized Frazetta was from so earlier. Yeah,
I once ordered there was a book reprinting his newspaper strip Johnny Comet.
Right, I've got those too.
Yeah, the book was canceled and my shop didn't reorder when it was when it was reoffered, so I didn't buy it. But those strips were from 1952.
Yeah, wow.
So I have this book.
Icon. There we go.
And Frazetta was sharing the studio with Al Williamson and Angelo Torres.
Oh, it says Sleepy Reader says, I believe Ken Kelly was actually helped out by Frazetta personally. Oh, okay. Did someone say Slab Reader? 3 masterpieces waiting to receive a Flamingo Dolphin improvement?
Yeah, you
You
got
just
here late.
missed it.
5 minutes ago.
1975 black and white magazines.
Mhm.
We'll do another one in a few minutes.
This is what he was doing in the 50s.
Hold on, let me make you bigger so we can see it. There we go.
Yeah, science fiction stuff.
That's very Wally-Woodish.
Yeah.
One.
Very much so.
Yeah. Who was the hot artist in the early 50s for EC? Did you see that giant Taschen Frazetta book?
Which one?
It just came out this summer by Taschen. It's like that thick and that big. It's a Frazetta book.
No, I have not seen it.
I mean, I don't like Frazetta enough to buy that, that much, but it's at my local comic shop, so I've looked through it and it's beautiful. But it's really, who's got the, those Taschen books, I'm always like, who's got the room for those? They're gigantic. You got the room for like one of them. Let's see. Let's pull out this Andy Schmidt CEX book, Joseph Schmalke's 7 Years in Darkness. I'm really liking this Joseph Schmalke's work, who was just shown to me last year, I think. And I'm liking these. The quality of these CEX books. This matte finish, cardstock cover is really nice, with some good, semi-gloss interior paper too. I think it's a $5 book. It's a $5 book, but I don't mind paying $5 for a book that, a small press book that's this good. And this is the story of a wizard school that's only open every 150 years or so. And I think it's something like 70 students get taken in, or 120 students get taken in, and only 7 survive it. And then then they don't open up that school again until the last of those 7 die. But sometimes they die right away. Like it's like of the 7, like 5 of them died right away last time. So there's like 2 wizards left who kind of lived out their natural life, and now the school's open again. CEX equals sex. There we go. I didn't even think of that. I think Wrightson started out trying to draw like Frazetta. Yeah, a lot of people did. I think if you love art, you get a bigger house for the Taschen. Yeah. But it's mostly about the kids who have to wear these masks, and a bunch of them keep dying. And this one, I just think he's really imaginative. I think he's got a good imagination, and I like his artwork and his writing. It's pretty solid stuff. But I am not sure if this is the last, is issue 4, if this is the last issue of 7 Years in Darkness, because all of a sudden it says Joseph Schmalke's 7 Years in Darkness, The Shamir Worm. I'm like, is this the series continued, or is this another mini series? What does it say? CEX coming soon. I don't know. Is there going to be an issue 5, or do I have to put issue 1 of that? Comics, Sometimes it's like...
Give Andy an email. I have questions.
I have questions. I'm going to have to email him. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, my viewers need to know.
My viewers need to know. Because he was actually messaging me. I almost did some production work for them, but ended up not. So I could message him.
Yeah, give him a message. It's like I need some answers.
I need some answers. Wilson demands answers.
I need pictures of Spider-Man, and I demand answers on this book. I need to know.
No wonder people just wait for the trade. Who knows what's going on with these individual issues? I certainly don't.
In the meantime, let me try to convince you to come to Europe for another comics event. Would you, if you had the comics event at the European Chateau near a lake in northern Italy in May, would you like to take a vacation there?
That sounds like a good time. I just never go anywhere because I'm poor. I
Yeah.
go on vacations.
Yeah, no, but this place looks amazing.
My answer to any invite for conventions always is: you fly me out there, I'll sign whatever books you need me to sign. If the convention flies me out there, feed me, give me housing, get me to and from the airport, I'm there. Bonus if you bring my sister too. But I go to any con that I'm able to basically get paid to go to. Not paid to go to, but if everything else is paid, that's fine. Other artists do get an appearance fee. That was something that I wasn't aware of. Found that out when I was working at Marvel, that certain artists would basically get like $1,000 just to show up, and then everything else gets paid for them as well.
Yeah, no one's
I am not on that list.
Yeah, no one's paying for me to appear, so I'd have to go as a paying guest.
The guest list this is already confirmed: John Romita Jr., Bill Sienkiewicz, Tula Lotay, who I don't know.
Oh, you don't know her? She's good.
Mm-hmm. Bill Moore,
and that's a pen name too.
Oh yeah, it looks like it. Bill Morrison, name sounds familiar, but I can't place.
He did Simpsons stuff, I think.
Oh yeah. Charles Vess, David Finch, David Peterson, Frank Cho, Glenn Fabry, Jordi Bernet from Spain, and Juanjo Garnido from Spain.
Sounds like
I would not be uncomfortable sitting with any of those people.
Yeah.
I know a good amount of them, so I would be right up there with them if I was invited and all those things were paid for. But it's nice to see that Charles Vest is traveling, because I remember a while back he was sick.
Ah, is that where it is? That looks nice.
That is nice.
Isn't it? You don't get places like, you don't have comic conventions in places like this in America.
No.
Oh, one of the shows I went to was in a castle. So I can't complain about that. It wasn't that great of a show, but it was a nice castle. That is pretty.
The Super Jersey Comics Expo is at the Bell Works.
There you go.
That actually was pretty nice looking when I saw it. Jared always finds series of amazing titles. 7 Years in Darkness, In Hell We Fight. It's impossible to resist them. Those are both two good titles. Another pretty good title is What's the Furthest Place from Here? Which, another good issue of this, but I still have no idea what's going on with the overall story. This is the one that takes place in the world where there are no grown-ups. And last issue, the last couple of issues were all about this one girl who's pregnant and doesn't even know what pregnancy is. She doesn't know what's going on. And her sort of adventures roaming around looking for the other people. And in this one, she finds these her two friends. Well, one of them's her friend. Or pardon me, she doesn't find them yet. These are her friends out there roaming around. I don't even know if they're looking for her or just roaming around. And eventually they find each other. And they're like, oh, it's you. Some nice artwork, too, by... Who is the artist? Matthew Rosenberg? Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg is credited to. And then there's something where they were looking for this city. Why they're looking for this city, I don't remember. And they eventually find it, except the city's not the paradise they thought it was. It's all run down, so now they don't know what to do. And it's to be continued. Like it was, and the woman who was pregnant had the baby, and she's just like, I was walking around and this baby just popped out of me. Where does she say that? So that it's like they don't even really know what they're doing here. And there's like mysterious guys in robes in it, and we don't know what they're doing. Is that my jacket? We're just talking about them. No, Sid, what happened? I thought you were dying. Or did you die? No, I wasn't even sick. I just had this little guy inside my stomach. When it was time, he just popped out. So it's like, okay. They really don't know anything about babies or adults, but like I said, it's been a good series, but I have no idea what the overall story is in this,
I
or
think
if there is one.
I'm going to ask stupid questions because, like,
Yeah,
do they not have access to libraries?
no,
No books exist or anything like that?
no,
It's just
at least not that they know of. And they're
okay.
all organized into these like weird gangs where. Well, I don't think they can read even if there is libraries, because their original gang was like the record store gang. They lived and grew up in this record store, but there was no electricity to run the record player, so they didn't even really know what records was. Then there's the
Okay.
Boys in Blue gang, who live like in the police station and all pretend they're police. Then there's the Carnegie gang, who all live in a carnival and act like they're carnivals. And we ran into the Graveyard gang last issue, where all these people lived in the graveyard, and they were going to eat one of the characters, but she ran away. And also with them was like the Halloween gang, who lived in a haunted house and pretended it was Halloween all the time, but they don't really know what Halloween is.
Right. Okay.
So it's so weird. It makes no sense, and it's not gone forward making any sense too. And it's like there's no sense in sight.
Okay.
But the individual issues are pretty good, as long as you can accept there's no sense in sight. Paulo, get Jared and Wilson to be invited to Beja Comics Festival after Bob McLeod and Mick Gray and Amador Beatty's Sky's the Limit.
Yeah, we'll think about it. I'm already planning on winning the lottery one of these days, and that time I'll fly out anyone that wants to.
A solid plan.
All right.
You will be eating lots of pork and olives.
Let's see.
And drinking plenty of red wine.
Spawn continues.
Ooh,
Cygor. I haven't seen Cygor in years. If it is Cygor.
I think that's Cygor. I got a lot of issues of Spawn now, I just realized too. I think I started shortly after 300, and this is 346. So it's been a while.
It has. It's been that long since.
Cardstock covers. Nice Spawn. The big reveal at the end of this is there's a war going on between heaven and hell, and hell's throne is up for grabs, and the Spawns are trying to stop these guys from winning hell's throne. And the big reveal at the end is that Spawn, that someone is going to be me. Spawn is going to take hell's throne when he wins the war, just so these other people can't have it. So.
And did I see the clock? Did they restart the clock?
No clock. I don't.
That wasn't the clock at the very last panel?
Don't think so. Let me see. I don't know what that is.
That's not his meter?
No, I think that's just decoration as far as I know. 2242.
Okay, I thought they might have started his power meter again.
No, there's no power meter. I wonder if that's them just using the power meter as decoration.
Okay.
It's not
Or
that
maybe that's
he keeps not having his powers. He's always like, I'm too weak. I don't have my powers. He's like for 40 issues, he's been too weak. He doesn't have his powers. So I don't know what's going on with him. And I'm
okay.
not sure what page punchers are either.
Page punchers are small toys. They're about 3.25 inches. So they're just tiny toys it come with the comic books.
Oh, they're the ones that come with a comic. Okay. I think I
Right.
have heard of it.
So you get 2 action figures, if I remember correctly, with the comic book.
Yeah, there's 2 in the picture, so.
Yeah, so the comic book, that's the scale. So the comic book is regular comic book size, and the toys are small. I think just about G.I. or smaller than G.I. Joe size. I think they're like 2 inches.
Oh, and I mention, I think it was last week, that there's like 10 more Spawn comics coming.
Yeah.
You did mention that they were doing a bunch of stuff.
Whoa. And it's featuring cover artist Dan Panosian in October. So I guess they'll be featuring artists on different covers. I didn't know they did that. That's kind of cool. If you're a Dan Panosian fan, you can pick up his Spawn covers for only $3.99 a piece, I think. I don't think they're extra expensive. Nope. Wow, even those ones are up to 23, 27, and 25. I guess when you get things out monthly, regularly, those numbers can really build up. As opposed to relaunching it every 12 months. Is that all of my stuff? I think so. What's the show? Oh, no, I didn't show Ice Cream Man. Free the Figgly Bumps. This one was a little strange. I think it's about what happens to your art and characters that you come up with as a creative person after you die. Because the beginning of the story are these flippy bumps, and it's all about these cute little stuffed animal characters who have to go to war. And so then all of a sudden we switch over to the story of this brother and sister who are cleaning out their brother's stuff who committed suicide. So they're all upset he committed suicide, but he is the artist, cartoonist who did these Jiggly Bump characters. So he's dead. They're cleaning up his stuff. We've got these Jiggly Bump characters going off to war in what they're like, what is supposed to be an allegory about the Vietnam War. They got this tough as nails sergeant and everything. It's D-Day. Meanwhile, the brother and sister who never got, they're like, what is this stuff? I never got this, and he's supposedly a bit successful too. He's got fans. He actually publishes these books. And so they're arguing over and upset over his suicide because the sister says, and now he's in hell. And the brother's like, what? So they argue about suicide, good or bad, if hell really exists, if you go to hell. Da, da, da. Meanwhile, these guys are in hell, fighting away in Vietnam. And then the really weird thing happens where it turns out their enemies are these giant robots. And they're shooting marshmallow guns against these robots. So the robots just wipe them out.
You know what we need right now? An Ice Cream Man Spawn crossover.
That could be it. So So they all just get wiped out. This guy's wife at home gets his message that he's dead. It wasn't even a fight. They're like, hey, this isn't even a fight. And then we get like I said, they're cleaning up some of his mess, and they're like, just turn the light off on the way out. And so all his work is just left in the basement, never and the wife is left at home going, my husband, he's gone, he's dead. They're like, don't worry, the ice cream man's gonna come and take you away and give you a place to live. And it's just like, and then it's like the last page is him looking at his brother's work going, cutie, what is it? Cutie, pewtie, the flight of the figgly bumps, I'll never get it. And then he just turns off the lights on his brother's whole career. And it's just like, oh man, that's really sad. You buy Spawn so we don't have to. Buy them all to save money. All the Spawn. One of them written by a very competent inker. Daniel Henriquez. I know him since high school. Looking forward to his no home here. Okay.
Cool.
But this is another really sad one that I think was about being creative and having not even your family care.
Or understand.
Yeah. It's like, ooh.
That's a sad story.
That was a sad.
Call the creator, make sure they're okay.
Yeah. Wasn't even really a horror story. It was just like a tragedy. A tragedy. Bunch just sent me an email asking if Julio is on Facebook. He is not.
No, I have not seen Julio since MySpace. I think was the last time he was on anything that was social-wise.
Yeah, Julio is someone we used to work with at Marvel. He's a character. But I've seen him on Zoom a couple years ago. But that was, I think, the last time I actually talked to him.
No,
I think
that's
he was
different.
teaching English in Japan.
He was, but now he's back. He's living in Colorado. He's married. He's got a daughter. And he's doing stuff with Z Paint, which is for painting in 3D programs. So I think he's working in video games. So in video games, there are people who build the 3D models, and there are people who paint the 3D models. He's one of the people who paints the 3D models. And he's, telecommuting. I think his actual job office is in San Francisco, but he's like telecommuting from Colorado or something.
Oh, okay.
Let's do another Rip, Read, and Slab. Let's see. We did 75. Let's go back in time to 1940 or 1946. Pick your year.
46.
46 Wilson picks. All right.
Yeah, because it's the last year where the Golden Age people were still did not look good.
June 1946 we will go back to.
Unless we get a Basil Wolverton cover. That'll be interesting.
We get Big Shot, number 68. Matt, there were 68 issues of a comic I've never heard of. Jumbo Comics, number 90. I've heard of that one, though. Real Life Comics, number 34. I don't think I've heard of that one. There were so many comics in the Golden Age I've never heard of. It's crazy.
I've heard of Jumbo Comics.
Yeah.
Big Shot, I have not seen, although that art style is familiar. And Real Life Comics, nothing of it.
The Adventures of the World's Greatest Heroes.
I'm going to read Big Shot. I want to know how Joe Palooka is going to get worried about being beaten by that guy in a
That's-
boxing match.
That skinny guy.
I'm going to slap Jumbo Comics.
Because it's a good girl cover. Everybody loves those.
Oh yeah.
Of course. I mean, the YouTuber Jumbo, he's all about these covers. Yeah, and I'm gonna rip real life comics. That thing looks so boring. I mean, it's obviously highly detailed. It's very professional, but it has no
But
flair at
is
all.
that Jimmy Stewart on that one side?
Yeah.
Look at that. You get a Jimmy Stewart story.
Or the story of Jimmy Stewart.
James Fenimore Cooper. Is that Admiral Faraday?
Michael Faraday. That's the guy who invented the Faraday cage.
Okay, Michael Faraday. Somebody Berlin.
Irving Berlin.
That's
Irving Berlin.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody is slabbing the cheesecake.
I'm going to slab
Shot.
real life comics.
Real Dolphin the horse. Hold on. Read Big Shot, slab Jumbo, and rip up real life comics. Dolphin the guy hanging over the gators on Jumbo. That guy over there will now be a dolphin.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to read Jumbo Comics. I need to know what's happening there.
What? Is that like watching porn for the plot?
Because it's like I feel like I know. Well, actually, I think I know what I'm going to get in all three books. But it's like this was a hard one for me to figure out. What is it? Do I want to read?
Yeah.
Because it's like I know real life is going to be boring. I know it's going to be boring. I know Jumbo Comics is going to be the typical jungle kind of story.
I like real life. I like slice of life comics, so I think I'm going to have to read real life comics. I mean, it's not going to be like reading a 1980s or 1990s autobiographical cartoonist, I'm sure. It's not. There's no Joe Matt in there.
I'm going to dolphin Paul Revere's hat.
Slab Jumbo, read real life, and shred Big Shot. I think I'm with Sleepy Reader on this one. I'm going to slab Jumbo, read real life, and tear up Big Shot. Even though I want to read Big Shot too, but that's the game. I got to tear it up.
Yeah. I was Joe Palooka going to lose this one.
Yeah. Slab Big Shot, read Jumbo, rip real life, turn Sheena Arrow into a flamingo.
Now the flamingos.
The flamingos just have to be somewhere. You don't turn something into the flamingo. Mm-hmm. It's the dolphin you turn things into.
I think I agree with you. I'm going to slab Jumbo, and I'm going to read Big Shot, and I'm going to rip up real life. I think that'll probably be the more entertainment to it. The flamingos, I'm going to replace each one of those guys on the real life with the flamingos watching Paul Revere's horse.
You can do that with Big Shot or real life.
True, very true.
I'm going to put the flamingos on top of the gators' heads.
I think the dolphin, I'm going to replace Sheena with the dolphin. It's going to be dolphin and leopard print defending herself from the alligators.
The French would probably have to do that. Since they replaced Mero with the dolphin, they would have to replace Sheena with the dolphin.
That's right.
That's exactly how we got into the situation.
Yep.
I'm going to replace the word life with a dolphin. So it'll be real picture of a dolphin
comics.
And I'm going to put the flamingos inside the lantern of the guy behind Paul Revere. So he'll be holding up a lantern with two flamingos in it.
So they're
shining
going to
light
be
from
flaming flamingos.
them. The flamingos will not be flaming; they'll just be standing there
They provide the light.
It sure
by
is
the
warm in here.
dawn's early light. Let's see: Slab Jumbo, Read Real Life, Rip Big Shot, Revere riding a dolphin, Sheena sitting on a flamingo. Now the flamingos don't replace anything. You got to put the flamingos somewhere. They got to be watching. The dolphin replaces something. The flamingos are spectators. What was the name of that comic? I
Flamingos
can't even
only
remember it
watch.
now. It was a Mad Cave comic.
Was it?
Yeah. Ooh, what was it?
Was it like a meteor coming down to Earth or something? The
It
flamingos
was
were just
it was
watching.
it was meteors hitting the Earth, or it was a nuclear explosion. I can't remember which. But there were often flamingos watching throughout the comic. Randomly. Pink flamingos. Wow, Big Shot went 68 issues. What was it? 68 issues of Joe Palooka? Or was it
Maybe
one of those that changed
Toluca
over
was
time?
popular enough.
It could be just newspaper reprints. So
Ah,
Big Shot was published by Columbia between 1943 and 1949. From issues number 34. No, it changed name from Big Shot Comics to Big Shot. That was it. It went on for 104 issues.
Sheena for a dolphin. That's brilliant, Mr. Ramos. Call Aquaman. There will be love tonight. I want to borrow Sheena's outfit for my wife, says Sleepy.
It's all newspaper reprints. So issue number 34, Joe Palooka, Sparky Watts, Captain Yank, Bo, Charlie Chan, The Face, Dinky Dinkerton, Vic Jordan, Dixie Dugan, Skyman. Yeah.
And was Sheena Queen of the Jungle from the comic or from somewhere else?
Yeah, Sheena was created by Will Eisner. The thing is from the Eisner Iger show.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that. It's from the Eisner. Oh my God, the other guy's name just flew out of my head. Studios. Iger, right?
Yeah, Fred Iger.
Iger Eisner Studios. The adventures of the world's greatest heroes, real life. Ah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Jumbo Comics lasted between 1938 and 1953. 167.
Wow.
167.
That's a
but
good
issue
long
number
time.
one. Issue number 1 does not have Jungle Girl.
Sheena, Queen of the Jungle.
When does Sheena start?
Referenced in a Bruce Springsteen song.
Is it?
She makes Sheena of the Jungle look meek and mild. She loves someone else to look like he got no style. Oh, man. Look but better not touch, I think, is the song. I haven't heard it, so I think it mentions Sheena. I'll have to look up the lyrics. Hal will do that. Look up Bruce Springsteen, look but better not touch.
Bruce Springsteen, look but better.
She makes the Venus de Milo look like she's got no style. She makes Sheena of the Jungle look meek and mild.
It's not here.
You can look, but you better not touch, boy. You can look. Was Sheena in the pulps too? I don't know.
No, she debuted in a British magazine before. She appeared in Wag, something called Wags. The art was published there before it was published in America
Okay, but as a comic.
as a comic. She's not a pulp
Okay.
character. The Sheena reference is not in the original lyrics.
I could have the wrong song. I think it's "Look," but better enough. I don't know why Bruce Springsteen. What is it? Does it say Venus de Milo somewhere?
No.
I might have the wrong song. Marvel had no shame when they came up with Shanna. Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, Venus de Milo. Crush on You.
Crush on You?
Yeah.
That's Ooh, ooh, I got a crush on you. No, that's someone else. That's Dave Edmunds. But who knows who wrote it?
Yeah, here it is. She makes the Venus de Milo look like she's got no style. She makes Queen of the Jungle look meek and mild.
Is it Queen of the Jungle or
Sheena of the Jungle?
Machine of the? Which song is that?
Crush on You.
Crush on You. Okay. Ooh, ooh, I got a crush on. Look at that. Bruce Springsteen made a Sheena reference. Who knew?
Comics in everyday life.
There it is. Hawks of the Sea.
I have these covered. Oh, okay. I just found a batch of X-Men covers and it's like, why do I have this batch of X-Men covers? This was going back to like a discussion I was having on Facebook about covers and storytelling.
Ah. Uh-huh. Rush on You, not which album was that off of? I haven't heard any of them in so long. Random question. Hey man, random question for you. Do you have any experience with formatting for webcomics? Thanks. Yeah, I do a webcomic.
Basically just saving a JPEG or a PNG, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly PNGs these days, I'm told by John Bly. So I've been saving mine as PNGs. It's like everybody saves everything for the web as PNGs. Stop using JPEGs. I'm like, okay.
Huh.
Don't have to tell me twice. Doesn't matter to me either way, but I'll do it.
Right.
PNGs are just a little bit bigger, but give you a lot better quality.
Okay.
The first Sheena story was written by is presumed to be written by Eisner because it's written by a house name. But the art is by Mort Meskin.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And I guess it was popular enough for Bruce Springsteen to know who she was.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's about time we wrapped it up for the week. Let Paolo get to bed. Because he's on. It's even later for you this week, right? Because you're on daylight. You're off.
No,
it's earlier.
That changes tomorrow.
Oh, okay, it changes.
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay.
And then we change the following Saturday. So we'll only be out of sync for a week.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody have a good week out there. I'm glad Wilson's connection held up.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised.
Let's see. Should we do double? Was it double thumbs up? Gives us that. And I think there was two. What did this one? There we go. There's the confetti.
Uh-huh.
I think one made balloons drop. No balloons. Oh, come on. Oh, thumbs up then. All right, thumbs up. Okay. Everybody have a good week out there. Cheerio.
Take care, everybody.